Welcome back to part 2 of our unexpected art interview with Lar DeSouza.
So I actually produce a couple of TTRPG actual play podcasts, and one of the ones that I do is called Tempest Multi. In the first season, it was a Monster of the Week game. Each season is in like a different Powered by the Apocalypse system, but it's like different versions of the same city where reality is starting to fracture because of time travel experiments. I still remember there was one day I was staying over at a friend's house who actually happened to be a player in that show when someone tagged me on Twitter with some fan art they made of the characters. I was like, oh my god, Casey, I almost cried.
I love doing fan art. I'm actually, I get confused why more, I guess I shouldn't be. You know, everyone isn't as easily distractible as I am, I guess, in their artwork. But it's like, I have the ability to do fan art. And I've always loved it when I've gotten fan art for one of our characters. We used to sometimes get art for looking for group. And I loved it. And just like if you see somebody using your characters, it's like they want to share and they want to play in the sandbox. I think it's wonderful to have that permission to write fanfic, to do fan art, and participate in the community and share that around and not be gatekept by anything. And, you know, occasionally, like you said, file the serial numbers off and somebody actually gets a gig, gets a publishing thing or whatever is wonderful. Whether it's I have to draw something to get out of the horrible negativeness that's in the world, so I draw a mean caricature of politicians of certain colors, or I am drawing Ugna wrestling a Hydra goose. You know, you have to do these things. I have to do these things.
I now very much want to see the art of Ugna wrestling a Hydra goose. Is that something you actually drew, or is that just something that popped up in your head?
I did do the Hydra goose because half of the group is Canadian, so I had to make it a Canadian goose. Hang on.
Of course, you gotta. In my home D&D game that we play on Friday nights, we've been playing for like 7 years now. It's in a post-apocalyptic, apocalypse is currently going on, alternate version of the United States. Oh, that is a very cute Hydra goose. Is that the old man from Up?
Yes.
Belching a one-eyed, fire-breathing crocodile.
Based on the old man from Up. He's also some kind of necromancer, although he never admits it. And he always has Werther's candies. And he has a bucket that he carries his ex-wife in. He's widowed from his wife, who was also apparently some sort of dark magic practitioner. But she comes along. He occasionally drops, you know, carrying an offal in the bucket for her. So he's got dark powers, but...
And they say romance is dead.
Yeah. It's very sweet. Peter Tchaikovsky plays him, and very, very sweet. He's like the grandfather uncle to everybody. He also happens to be a dark magic person, so...
Hey, we don't judge people for that here. It's the content of his character. Yet I'm already absolutely delighted with the description, but I feel like we could continue falling down the fan art rabbit hole for ages.
This is why I draw so many random things. It's like they all just ping pong around, and like bingo things, they come out together, and I kind of go, okay, I have to draw that now.
And people want to see it because it's one of those I never thought about that, but this is absolutely delightful.
Again, it's one fan talking to another here, and we both have things, Star Trek, Star Wars, Doctor Who, Rocky, whatever. And it's like, oh, I love that too. Let's talk about how much we love that. Oh, I love that too. Let's talk about that's how much I love that. It's a wonderful superpower being able to draw. I won't deny it. Being able to take an idea, whether mine or somebody else's, share it, and then just kind of move on right off into the sunset.
Is there something that specifically drew you to drawing comics?
I think just the love of them. I mean, I grew up loving comics. I didn't aspire to be a comic artist like in the Capes tradition. I can do it, but it never came as naturally to me. as cartoony and caricature. And I think that's why it took me a long time. That's why I did a year of science. I didn't feel I was serious about it. It was a hobby. My brother was serious about it. He's a tremendous cartoonist, but he wanted to be an animator as well. And I think if I had known more about animation, I might have gone that route after all, because my understanding of animation back then was doing the actual animation, doing the thousands of drawings. I think if I had known about character design and background painting and props and those sorts of things, I might have gone that route. But I really enjoyed what illustration taught me, and that was the ability to observe and to analyze so that I could draw things and that I could build this mental library. Maybe I'm not drawing the most accurate airplane the first time. I can whip out a pretty good airplane, and then I can go reference and refine it later, whether it's a jet or a passenger liner or a biplane or Snoopy's doghouse. I can rough that out very quickly and get that part of the job done quickly, and then refine it with references as I need to. And I think once I realized that fulfillment in my soul, that it wasn't a job, it was a vocation, that if I was flipping burgers or working in a bank or something, I would still be drawing. I couldn't stop myself from drawing. I will walk through a world of eye candy. I live in a small town. A lot of the faces I see are families of faces. So if I go to the city, if I go to Toronto or something, it's just like, I just want to stand in the middle of an intersection and just soak in all these people. And I'll look at people kind of going, I got to remember you for next time. I got to remember you for next time. Next time I need a little old lady. Next time I need a bike courier. Next time I need a guy with weird hair or a guy in a suit. And so I just sort of sponge them all up. It's not just them. It's just, I'm losing my words. The words get harder as the brain goes. I don't think I'm passionate about it until I look at it and realize I'm nothing but passionate about it. That I was just wired to draw. And I also happen to be very goofy. So cartoons work for that.
Delightful combination.
I watched cartoons, I read comics. I think too, when I started doing web comics, there was a saying back in illustration that you should know the names of people in your field, the famous people. And if you're a fine art painter, you should know who's all up in the current fine art scene. If you're a comic artist, then you would know the Jack Kirbys, the Jim Lees, and the names of the big artists. And when I realized, you know what? I actually know the name of the newspaper comic strip people. I know the Ketchum and the Schultz and the Gary Larson. And I had read books for fun on the history of American comic strip and things like that. I was like, oh, maybe I stumbled into the webcomic thing, but it was such a good fit. On my own, I tend to do just single panel gag cartoons, but working with Zomer in that kind of sequential storytelling was such a good fit for me. And I don't think I would have found it without the web, because newspapers are shrinking. We tried to get another news syndicated. It's only gotten rarer and rarer for somebody to have that success story. But there have been some, George Gant recently, and he does Crabgrass and has been lauded. There are people who are, Rachel's Doe. See, here I'm saying I should know these names. I know the work. I don't know their names.
Oh, I know. I know that struggle, or like where you know the name, but you don't actually know what they look like or anything. It's
like Nancy. Now she's walking away from Nancy, and somebody else has taken over. And, Randy Mulholland got to take over Popeye and revitalize it. Those are legacy strips. But, there are new comics, but the syndicates are very stingy. I don't know if stingy is the right word.
Particular?
No, I just think the newspaper market has been shrinking, and the comics page within that has been shrinking even longer. So, I read my daily comics from the syndicates because I don't take a newspaper. I don't get a delivery. All I'd be doing is recycling it. I get my news from the news sources online. I don't get a newspaper. It's that opportunity has shrunk, but the demand hasn't shrunk. there's still people wanting to hear the stories that these artists have to tell, whether it's about kids in crabgrass, or Beware of the Toddler with George Gant about parenting, or Rachel's Doe, which is animal characters in the forest doing things. There's still the desire for these projects. Thankfully, the web lets them get out there, but it's at the same time, it's an easy entry, but it's hard to stand out above and necessarily get the.
Yeah, that is the one downside of when something has a low barrier to entry, then you have a lot of people doing it. So how do you stand out? Or will you be able to, or is that even something you want to do, or are you just doing this because you want to do it? What does making it look like for you?
And it's funny, like in Toward's case, I hope I'm not mispronouncing that. I've been following him for years because one of the syndicates had a competition called Comic Sherpa, and he did a comic called, I believe, Queen of the Neighborhood, that I fell in love with. And he did 6 weeks or 6 months of it or something, and it didn't get picked up, and he stopped doing it, and my heart broke because it was brilliant. It was hilarious. And he did another sort of fantasy long form one that was brilliant, and he did another. Finally, Crabgrass has hit for him the past couple of years. Young kids, beautifully drawn, hilarious storytelling and stuff, and it's finally hit for him, and he's getting accolades, and it is so well deserved, and it's so well reading daily. But it is that persistence in the face of the constant frustration of the world saying, not quite, we like you, but is disheartening for a lot of people.
Yeah, but the persistence pays off, because when something you're doing does land, then you'll get people looking at your other stuff too.
Hopefully.
That increases the likelihood that someone is not only a big fan of the story, but your work in general. They'll find other things and then be a fan about that. You can't get there if you don't keep going.
Yeah, exactly. You can't get there if you don't keep going. And it is frustrating. I don't ever want to crap on somebody's dream. And I think the people who have persisted and have also been smart and kept moving their talent forward. But, you can't rely on social media the way you once could in the early Twitter days.
I'm still mad about what happened to Twitter. I love what it used to be, and now I'm mad about that.
I think part of the problem with Twitter is it did become, or social media in general, people put that emphasis of self-promotion on it. And I've used it for self-promotion too, keep it for social. I try and make it my silly place and let the official webcomic Facebook page have its promotional thing. This is my personal space where I can be a jerk and I can post cat pictures and talk about my bowel movements and post weird cartoons, Twitter became this people trying to manufacture a viral moment. And I will do a cartoon one day and it might get 12 views. And I'll do a cartoon another day and it might get 100 views. But that doesn't equate to 100 new followers on my account.
True.
It doesn't equate to somebody I can say, give me $1. Again, like I have my Redbubble for shits and giggles. My Redbubble is the put up or shut up. Because people will say, oh, I want mugs and I want t-shirts and keepers and it's like, no, you don't. You like the idea that I've got a garage full of merchandise somewhere, but I don't like the idea of having a garage full of merchandise I can't push. So print on demand, I don't make any serious money from it, but every so often I'll see, it's like, you're wearing one of my shirts in the wild. I have to go through the crowd and hug this person. You're one of 3 people who bought that t-shirt. And every few months I get a payout for $20, $25 or whatever it hits that threshold. It's fun to have it there to say, if you want something, you want a sticker, you want a t-shirt, you want a mug. I'm not going to go list every bit of merchandise. And I'm not going to put it up there unless you tell me you want it, because I draw too much crap. It's like I would be my Redbubble's already unruly with a handbook.
You would need to like hire an additional person full time to manage an online store that goes with all of your art, which I mean, could be cool if that's something you want to do.
If I sell that much, I would have a warehouse full of merchandise. That would be worthwhile. Invest in the printing and the shipping and the manufacturing and all that sort of stuff. We did merchandising for the webcomic. We had books. We had shirts for a time when shirts were hot. We even had plushies. But the waves come and go. The gaming industry is a perfect example. With all the roll the dice on tariffs, all these things were being manufactured overseas. There's no one manufacturing them in North America anymore. And that throws a giant spanner in the works. So, print on demand is a good solution for those little, oh, you want a Rocky Horror shirt? You like the cartoon I did? Excellent, I can set you up.
Yeah, just a fun little side thing that you could do. And from what I've heard, Redbubble's relatively user-friendly on the setup side.
It's the same as any of the others. Zazzle, Cafe Press, whatever. They're all relatively the same. I can't even remember why I chose Redbubble at the time. I think it probably had the lowest threshold for payouts, if I remember correctly. Vistaprint, there's all number, find who's local to you and use them. No one's ever better than the other. I liken it to, if I can get a little philosophical again, I've had my moments of what am I doing in the world as a person. I had my 9/11 moment at 9/11. I was working on a freelance job. My kids were still in school. I wasn't quite full-time artist here or anything. And spent that Tuesday glued to the television. Wednesday, it's like, I have a deadline at the end of the week. And the world goes on. And I was drawing a storybook about a little hairless bear, Floopsy the bear. And it was just like sitting at the computer going, what is the point of this little hairless bear? And then I realized my client was in New York. So it was like, do I even have a client? So I contacted him. He was fine. He's like, don't mess the deadline. It's like, I need to do the deadline. So I'm just caught in this spiral of despair. And I came to the realization that my place as a cartoonist is to draw silly cartoons. I'm never going to invent a cure for cancer. I'm not going to change climate change. I'm not going to be a political bigwig sitting in a chair making policy. What I can do is make little moments of lightness for myself and for others. So I throw out these pebbles into the pond, and you're scrolling by, you're doom scrolling, and you hit one of my cartoons. And maybe for a minute, your timeline is easier. Maybe your shitty day, you smile for a minute. And then you move on, and the ripples move on. And the ripples move on, and I will never know where those ripples are touching. But I'm simply trusting that if it makes me laugh, somebody else laugh.
Or at least give someone a smile who needs one.
At least give somebody the, hey, I don't know you, but I like the glasses you're wearing. Hey, I don't know you, but you look really good in that color. Random compliment on the street. Hey.
I give lots of those.
I love giving those because kindness costs nothing.
Exactly.
And so I try to be kind, and this is my way of just throwing them out. One cool story is I did have a ripple come back to me, and it wasn't from my art. It was from me reposting a job description. Whenever I see a job thing come by or somebody asking for commissions, it costs me nothing to click repost. And it was a job for animation that came by pre-pandemic, and I clicked repost. And it turned out a young animator in South Africa who followed me on Twitter because he read my comic, and somehow my Canadian comics being read by somebody in South Africa, saw that post, applied for the job, turned out it was remote, wound up working with Kevin Smith on his Clerks cartoon, and helped him because he was like, there's no opportunities for animation in South America right now, and certainly none. It was Flash animation or something, and certainly very little remotely. And it's like, I got a job and I got a good credit, and I'm getting opportunities now because I read your comic and you took the time to repost this, and I applied for the job and I got the job. That's amazing.
It really is. You never know.
Those are great moments. We've had a couple of those at conventions. where somebody said dark time in college or university or personal, and I was reading your comic and you guys kept me going, kept me laughing, kept me going, and that was always a real reward, unexpected, unlooked for, when it comes back like that.
Yeah, and it seems like such a little thing, but those ripples can have a big impact.
Exactly. And again, it's might be a little full of myself to think that's what I'm doing, but it gets me through the day. And it gets me to do light things of like, I think this is really weird. This is really weird. I'm going to post it anyways. It amuses me. And I've always found, sometimes it takes a while, but there's at least one other person out there who will say, oh, that hits my funny bone too. You know? And so that's fine.
It's amazing.
I have an amazing life. I have a character's friend who said, my worst day at work is drawing funny people. Deadlines are no fun, but my worst day at work, I'm drawing funny pictures. That's awesome.
You've got a pretty sweet spot in life, and using that to add a little bit of sunshine.
Very, very privileged and blessed to be in this position. I have a wonderful, supportive wife. I could have gone back and gotten a full-time job, and she was like, no, you've been staying at home. It's nice to have you at home. Why don't you wanted to be an illustrator, chase that we'll give that a couple of years. Stuff happened.
You never know unless you try.
And I was lucky enough to be able to try.
So what advice do you have for people looking to get into webcomics, or is there some advice you wish someone had given you in the beginning?
Oh, golly. I'm not the oldest person in webcomics, but I'm of the older generation of webcomic people. And things have certainly changed over time. It used to be enough to be persistent, consistent. And I still think it's very important to have a schedule. It doesn't have to be every day. If it's once a week, it's once a week. And if you can't make it, you communicate with your readers. It's a week or two, they will just move on. It's sad, but it's just like, oh, I guess you're not doing it anymore if you don't tell them why. So remember to communicate. Don't get too ahead of yourself. Don't plan on, I'm going to start my comic and I'm going to have t-shirts and mugs and I'm going to have a forum and we're going to have flash games and we're going to do the comic. Do the comic, put it on your socials. Definitely have a website.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be necessarily domain.com. If it's your Pinterest, if it's your Instagram, have a place where people can consistently go back and read your backstrips. I think having your own personal domain is a good idea, but it isn't necessarily what you have to start with. You just do need a place to say, I always publish on my Tumblr, nobody. But it's like, I will always post it on this location. You can find it here. And I will always post my commentary about it here as well. So you can see I'm going on vacation, I've got a medical thing, I've got family thing, it's the holidays, I'm taking some time off. So people know to expect you when you come back. You have to make it easy for them to find you.
Because people are lazy and easily distracted.
Yeah. And some people swear by, oh, I don't have a schedule, I just publish whenever. Well, if your audience is okay with that, but I don't trust that. I don't trust that. You have to be willing to show up so that your readers are willing to show up. That said, though, you are allowed to change the rules. You're allowed to say, I'm going to do it 7 days a week, and then go, oh, God, I can't do 7 days a week. I'm going to do 2 days a week. That's fine. Just tell I'm only going to do it 2 days a week. Or I can't do 2 days a week. I've been sick. I'm just going to do 1 day a week. Or I need a break. I'll be back in a month. And during that month, say, you don't have to go on there justifying that you're taking a break. But maybe just kind of go, hey, I had a cute moment today. Don't talk about the strip. Talk about you. People want to know about you. You don't have to bare your life. You don't have to show your babies, but talk to them, share their interests. Just like how we're, randomly bouncing around kind of going, oh, I like this show. Oh, I like that book. Oh, I like that, whatever. They're fans as much as you are. So share that fun conversation with them and then shared your strip as well.
It adds a touch of authenticity to it, that there's a person behind this work, so people get to know you as well.
Precisely.
Thanks for listening to an unexpected art interview with Lar DeSouza, comic artist and caricature artist. Stay tuned to hear more of this 3-part interview. If you like what we're doing, you can follow us on social media and join the conversation over at An Unexpected Art Lesson on Threads, Blue Sky, and Substack. And you can also support us over on Patreon. Get early access to episodes and other fun things at patreon.com/anunexpectedartlesson.